Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Semi Soccer Experts Podcast, also known as the C
Team
Podcast.
podcast.
We are on episode 41, and I cannot think of anything special about the number 41.
Come on, you can't think of anything about 41. Didn't you have cable, 41, Univision?
That's it. But soccer-wise, I can't really think about much.
Oh, yeah, soccer-wise, I don't know shit about 41.
4 plus 1 is 5, and Javier Zanetti wore number 5 for Inter Milan.
Yeah, other than that, 5 was for Rio Ferdinand for Manchester United. So
I just want to double check that because some reason I think I'm wrong.
Come on, you can't know Zanetti's number?
I'm blanking on it. Really bad. Something's telling me it's number 4 that he wore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Wasn't Zanetti a number 4?
I think he wore number 4. I'm not sure. Yeah, he was number 4. I don't know why I said 5.
No, close enough. Like I said, at least I was good with my 5. Well, wasn't Zidane number 5 for Real Madrid?
Zidane was number 5 for Real Madrid. That I'm certain of.
Yeah, that's
Who is number 5 on Inter Milan?
Come on, yeah, I know this, mate.
No one. It could have been. It could have been someone special.
So special. I feel like wasn't this douchebag Materazzi one who pissed off Zidane?
I think he actually wore something else. Damn, I can't really.
Maicon. None of these guys.
Oh, Maicon. I don't think it was Maicon either.
Well, it's another topic for another
day. But all right, so we are right now currently in the middle of international break.
Fun times.
Yeah, so qualifications for the World Cup are going on in South America, and I believe that on the European stage they were doing the Euro qualifications for some countries. And the big thing is that Scotland made it into Euro 2020. Scotland is the last team. And shout out to the Scottish. I was in Scotland getting my Scottish FA license, and I'm getting my UEFA B license right now through the Scottish FA. So congratulations to Scotland.
Yeah.
I don't know who this was news to me because just my group chat told me that Scotland made through. I'm not even sure who they beat, to be honest.
They beat Serbia. It was actually a thrilling game. They went to penalties and pretty much went to the final kicks. Their striker, I think Mitrovic, missed a penal, and that's how Scotland got through.
I see.
So it's the first time, and it's actually the first time they've gone to the Euros or any major competition since 1998. So it's a major accomplishment. You know, especially not being in any major tournaments for 22 years? Yeah,
22 years, yep.
I can still do math. But yeah, so it's, a good accomplishment for them. And another team that qualified for the Euros is Hungary. And what group they're in? The group of Germany, Portugal, and France. So what a lovely group to be assembled with, because I don't see them getting any points. But then again, I could be wrong. Group, even though the group of deaths, you may have an idea who'll get through. It's up in the air because Germany, obviously they were the world champs in 2014. They took a stumble. You don't know if they're going to be 100% come next year. Same thing with France. They just won the World Cup. At the same time, you know how dominant they are, but you just don't know. In Portugal, you're the last European champion. So there's a lot going on in that group.
And an important thing to note that France just lost. They lost to Finland.
So that's why they were bashing Pogba.
Yeah, they lost to Finland, and their major sport is actually ice hockey. They're not a footballing nation. They're an ice hockey a nation that likes to play ice hockey, and they lost 2-0 to Finland. Finland is ranked, I think, 55th in the world, and France is obviously ranked number 1. But it's interesting that you bring up Hungary, because back in the 50s and 60s, Hungary was an actual world power in football.
Yeah, they were.
They were actually a finalist in the 1954 World Cup, in Switzerland. They lost to West Germany 3-2, but Hungary used to have a very dominant team. What's his name? Pukas, the award that's named after him. Puskas, I think it's pronounced.
Puskas, yeah.
He uh he was on the Hungary team and he played on that dominant Hungary team, but he also played for Real Madrid, and there was definitely notable Hungarians that also played for FC Barcelona. So that's also very important to note that Hungary was at some point a world power.
They definitely were, and it would have been interesting because if they maintain the same world power, but in this day and age, it would be a hell of a group of death because you have powerhouses all over Europe just trying to fight each other just to get out of the group stage. But obviously, right now, they're not obviously close to where they used to be. But regardless, like I said, anything can happen in the group of death. So it's definitely going to be for some entertaining football. With that being said, though, before we set to Europe, I do want to talk about the U.S. Men's national team because they actually played against Wales this past day, and it was a 0-0 draw. Obviously, it's not entertaining as many people would think, but if you're watching it from a U.S. Men's national team, a fan point of view, you're pretty excited of how the team is going forward because they pretty much played a starting 11 of players who just play in Europe, and you don't even have Pulisic in there because he's still injured, and you don't have Jordan Morris, you don't have Josie Altidore, and all the other veterans from the squad. So it's and obviously they took and watching it from the first half, they did take it to Wales, and Wales is not they're a pretty good team, not up there like Britain and France and all of them, but they're a team you should not take lightly. They actually took the game to them. They played with pace, play as a team. They pretty much, how can I say, they had a good contribution amongst each other, good chemistry and everything. So I was happy to see the young players. And a lot of these kids are barely like under 20. Like you got Gio Reyna playing up on the left hand side. He's only 17. Dude, when I was 17, I was barely getting my first job. So it's a good accomplishment on his end. Congratulations from getting his starting role. And hopefully this is something we can see going forward with the U.S. men's national team.
The oldest player I have here, three of the oldest players is 28, 27, 33. John Brooks, Tim Ream, and Sebastian
Legit, I think.
Legit.
Yeah.
Everybody else is in their early 20s.
Yeah.
A lot of 20-year-olds, 22, 21, 18, 19.
Yeah, and the heart of the midfield, McKennie and Adams, I think they're like 21, 22, right around
Yeah.
that range.
McKennie is 22, and you said Tyler Adams is 21.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's
so
the shape
yeah.
of your U.S. midfield.
I mean, but I think the biggest thing to point out about this roster is that there is only one player who's currently playing in the MLS, and that's a Sebastian Legit.
Yeah.
Everybody else is playing in Europe. There is one player, Johnny Cardozo. He's playing in Internacional in Brazil. So I don't know how that came about. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But everybody else is playing in Europe, and this is a good sign in the sense that I think the men's national team is moving in the right direction because as you remember you named like players like Jordan Morris and Josie Altidore who are predominantly always played their careers in the MLS, and that's something very important to note that the national team no longer relies or it wasn't even rely. It was like kind of a mandatory thing that the national team had to be comprised of MLS players. And that was like under quotes mandatory. Obviously it's not, but it was highly encouraged by the higher ups. And to finally see a whole roster of non-MLS is very interesting. It's kind of also very uplifting and that the future is bright,
It's definitely bright. That's what I'm saying. And when I watched the post-match analysis with the commentators, they were like, this is the first time in a while where I see a roster of players and looking at the depth, and you're just like, wow, these guys, we got some ballers on our team, like literally. And granted, not everyone's like Pulisic, but they're on, they're right there in the rings of getting to that level with their potential and everything. Like I said, your Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Serginho Dest, who Gio Reyna, etc. You have all these players who have the potential to get there. If they stick in another defender who can get to that level, then you're talking about a team from back to front that can pretty much beat anybody. And I think they could be a threat if molded right. Though that's the one thing. You can say, yeah, you can look at Ross like, God damn, how can they not be being, how they, why haven't they won anything? It just depends from the ground up because they have to be managed a certain way. And as much shit as we give Berhalter, he let them play, without any shackles. He's just like, go ball and go play, you would normally play in European football, not some bullshit American tactics. Like, so I'm happy that he let them play like that. And I'm pretty much optimistic how the U.S. squad is going to look like in the next World Cup. They should qualify this time, and I'm pretty sure they will. It's just depending on how we're going to deal with this pandemic going forward, and getting all these qualifiers in. So,
I mean, they're good. They're going to qualify. There's no reason why they shouldn't qualify. I think even to the credit of the last team that didn't qualify, I think it was more of a fluke. I don't think it was. I always look back at that roster, and it's like it's not a bad roster. The team that failed to qualify for the 2018 World Cup, it's just a fluke. And to point out Berhalter, I think that the public, the pressure from the public not to be playing all these MLS players, and the fact that the public and the media pointed out Berhalter's relationship with what was it, the CEO of the federation?
Yeah, his brother.
His brother, they were like, listen, you clearly got the job because of your brother, or your brother had some hand into it. You got to give into some of our demands and play the good players, the players that are in Europe, and not so much the players that are just MLS bound. And again, it's not to say that all MLS players are bad, but at some point you have to realize if you're not playing in Europe and you're playing in MLS, well, you're not as good as the ones that are playing in Europe. That being said, I do feel optimistic about this American team, and I think they should be able to qualify for the 2022 Qatar World Cup. There's no reason about that, no doubt about that.
Yeah, same here, my man. So with that, we're gonna transition over to the Euros because now just since we were just talking about it, I feel like we should expand a little bit more. We were talking this before we went live. The Euros 2020 is going to be taking on next year in 2021. So it's going to be interesting because we were discussing how are the games. Granted, the game's going to be played, but are they even going to be fans in there? Are they even going to allow any folks, just to participate? Because I know a couple of friends who actually, paid for the lot, like a lot. It's like a lottery to pay to get in, for the Euros, and you have to pick like a certain state, like country where you're going to be staying at when you're going to see the games. So because the demand for these games are so high, you got pretty much not just people in Europe, but people all over the world who want to see this competition play out, because you do get almost best of the best players featured in this tournament. So what we did mention is that especially now we're in a COVID era, we did talk about like, hey, if you do purchase a ticket, I think it's necessary to do a test prior to attending the event, like getting a negative test, as if you're going to go fly to another country.
There's a lot to be said here. First things first, I personally, I wouldn't buy into any tickets or pay anything for a lottery to get these tickets. Like you said, normally it's a lottery. We're still in the middle of the pandemic, unfortunately. The United States is currently suffering, I guess, what they consider the third wave. Europe is seeing a rise in cases. We don't know what is happening right now. We don't know what's going to happen by the time the Euro 2020 start in the summertime. It's probably not guaranteed. Like, God forbid this situation gets even worse.
Yeah.
They have to cancel it again. There's no way that they're going to allow these players to cross borders, to go into different countries. So also think about it. It's not just the players that are traveling. It's logistics teams. Obviously you have your stadiums crew that are probably just going to be assigned to that one stadium. But there's also going to be, there's going to be people traveling from UEFA to all the games. There's people flying from all the countries and the related associations with them. That's too much cross contamination. I think I read somewhere that to get a stadium running with no fans, it still takes about a crew of about 200 to 300 people, depending on the stadium. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
And these past international breaks, and these players are getting tested all the time. There's still been like positive cases.
Yeah. Especially the top players. Ronaldo was tested positive for the virus. Neymar, Pogba, etc. These guys were tested positive. Well, granted, probably Neymar was out fucking partying, but still, you know, it's still crazy because, even though you would think players are taking more precaution, you just don't know what's going to happen. And or you don't know who you get in contact to, because it's all the contact tracing as well that comes through it, because some people are asymptomatic to the virus, and and we're still have yet to see a vaccine. There's been talks this week about a potential vaccine being set up hopefully by the start of next year, but you got to see like actual people take it, and wondering if it really would work. Who's going to be the guinea pigs going forward. So it's going to be a first, group of folks who have to try and just see the side effects from it.
Right. Like you said, we're also waiting on the vaccine. We're waiting on a host of other things, but I just don't think, I don't see the silver lining in continuing with trying to host these games.
I think they're still going to do the games. That's me speaking, because from a business point of view, they want to get it done before the end of 2021, so they can get the ball rolling for the World Cup, because they don't want to push that back, even though the World Cup is supposed to be in December of 2022. That being said, I think because of also the TV, revenue and everything that's supposed to come with it, I think they're gonna do it, but at worst case scenario, just no fans. I did mention to you as well before that I think it was the North Ireland game that actually allowed like up to 2,000 fans to come in. They all went through like a disinfected station. It's pretty much like what you go through in TSA with the metal detectors. You just go through it. They spray you, so and so disinfect you, and then you just go on for the game. I see that as not a problem, but at the same time, like, we don't know how it's going to be come June of next year with the whole virus, finishing. If it's still going to be, the cases are going to be high, it's going to be low. Who knows? Still like a lot of unpredictability.
Right. No, it's very unpredictable. I agree. Definitely, if they're gonna have some type of fans, cleaning booth, a disinfectant spray, that's definitely a must. I don't even think that's like I'm suggesting. I think that's a must. All the precautions. The temperature checking, like you said earlier, the prove that you tested negative for COVID within the last 3 days, or whatever the case may be. I think they should do what they did for the same thing they did with the Champions League. Take the tournament and move it to one single location. And that's probably even a different logistical headache, because you got all of these groups, and they need to play all these games. That's a lot of games going on. How many groups are there? I think there's A through F, so that's A, B, C, D, E, F. That's 6 groups, 5 groups.
It's 24 countries.
Divided by 4 is six groups.
Yeah.
So it's 6 groups, and I think probably the best, logistically speaking, if you need stadiums of high caliber, London is probably the only location that has. No, think about it. It's
Fucking hell.
no, but if you think about what city,
I was gonna say maybe not Germany. They did that for the not the Euros, Europa Leagues, Europa League
that,
championships.
so Germany only had one stadium. That you used one stadium because you only had like 5, 6 games.
Yeah, yeah, but what I'm trying to say is do in different cities because Germany has a lot of cities. You can do it in like Berlin, you can do it in Frankfurt,
No, no,
Munich.
right. But what I'm saying is limited to one city instead of
I
having
know, but
everybody.
I don't think that's possible. That's too many teams, too much. I get what you mean by London, but I don't think that'll realistically work because considering how big of a city London is, and there's way too many people there, I think it's overpopulated to say the least.
No, right. But then you don't have the infrastructure. Right. London realistically, if you thinking about the like the amount of fields and the amount of facilities that are within a city limit, it's London. Because you could think of Munich or Berlin, but I assume that those cities only have 2 or 3. Now, but if you gave every group one stadium, I think it could work. I think that London is more than capable. You get a hotel, and all those majors like the Stamford Bridge,
I was gonna say,
Wembley,
reality-wise, if we were to do in London, you said Stamford Bridge, Emirates, Wembley,
Craven
Tottenham,
Cottage,
hmm?
Craven Cottage,
Craven
got the
Cottage, and
Tottenham
West Ham
Stadium,
too.
West Ham Stadium. That's 5.
Yeah,
And all those stadiums have
world
high,
class facility. Say the
world
least.
class facility, but they have high quality hotels where national teams can stay at. So then you're limiting all these players to one country, and you're limiting it all to one city.
Hmm.
You know that I think that logistic wise is probably the best, because then if you have them in Germany, yeah, you could probably travel, but then you travel long distances,
Yeah,
because then you have to think about all the UEFA officials, all the national team officials.
yeah, I
If
get it too.
if you're gonna
Also to
if
spread
you're
them
gonna
out, though, that was the other thing I thought. That's what I'm saying. It just depends on what I feel like they would consider as a safer option. Like for me, I would personally space everyone out. I know I get what you mean, like keeping everybody like in a bubble, like similar to what MLS
yeah,
did.
the NBA did, and the NBA had 0 cases.
Yeah, but at the same time, that's what I can't think of London because I think of it too big of a city. You're gonna have players probably going out at nighttime, fucking going to the clubs because London has a lot of shit going on.
No, but you also, if you think about the NBA, you also had Orlando. Orlando was right there, and the
Mhm.
state of Florida had the least amount of restrictions.
Yeah.
So
But at the
obviously,
same time, if anybody left the bubble, they were gonna get fined or
and
whatever
there,
the
there
case.
were there were like 2 or 3 players that left the
Yeah,
bubble.
there was one of the play. I forget who it was. I think it was Lou Williams. He actually went to Magic City, which is a strip club in Atlanta, just to get some supposedly chicken fingers, just to hang out over there. Which I don't think is the case, but hey, you gotta do what you gotta do. He took the fine like a man and just dealt with it. He's like, "Fuck, if I'm gonna do it here, I might as well just enjoy one night out." And I get why, some players would, but it's just it's a tricky situation to be in. But granted, if they did have a bubble similar to what they did in Disney, it would be interesting to do it. But I wouldn't complain if it's in London. I just don't realistically see it to be there. In my opinion, if they were to do it, I think Germany would be a best bet. If not Germany, they did in Portugal, but I don't know who would be perfect episode for Marco because I don't know the landscape out there in Portugal with the stadiums and all that. But
I think Portugal is probably even a better bet, because um, I don't know so I only said London because I knew that one city had all the proper stadiums. But with Portugal, because it's such a small country, and you have all these smaller towns and cities that do have professional teams, it is within driving distance.
Yeah.
You know, so I think Portugal is not as densely populated as some of these other countries are. So I
Yeah.
think Portugal is actually not a bad idea, and I think also Portugal didn't have a lot of coronavirus cases. They got their infection rate under control. So obviously, I think Portugal would be probably the best bet.
Yeah,
You know,
because that's what they did for this the past Champions League final. That's where they held it at. So that's why I thought Portugal or even Germany, because those countries in themselves have taken better control and keep the cases down. So that's why I was thinking Germany as well would be a better fit. But like I said, there's a lot of speculation. Nobody knows what's going to go on. They do plan to do the Euros and the current stadiums that they did, barring if there's still fans going, which I at this point in at this rate I don't think it's the best idea to have fans. If they do, like we said, 33%. I think at best, just to keep it, just to keep everyone spaced out for the least part. But saying it's like 6 months from now, so we'll see how it goes, and we'll see if we're in another lockdown or two by then.
yeah, definitely. I think unfortunately it is looking like we're going into a second lockdown. Europe again is on the rise, but hopefully by the summertime, like you said, if the vaccine is out by the beginning of the year and everyone takes the vaccine, and by the summertime we can all be hopefully living a normal life, ideally.
Ideally, yes. But while we pretty much been on lockdown for this whole time and working from home, I did come across for a new, to watch new content, because obviously you're stuck at home for most of the day. What the hell else are you gonna do? I pretty much know everybody who watches. I'm pretty sure everybody has Amazon Prime, or no, somebody of Amazon Prime. So what I was able to watch recently, because they have their own video subscriptions, that they have documentaries, specifically soccer documentaries. One of them I've watched recently was with Tottenham. Tottenham, they filmed their whole season last year, especially during the coronavirus, of how the team interacted. They had the cameras there, spoke with Mourinho, Daniel Levy was a big part. It was a good documentary to say the least. I enjoyed it, very entertaining. I watched it from start to finish, even though I'm not a Tottenham fan. I was thoroughly entertained, and honestly got me missing Mourinho as the head coach, because you could see how good of a coach he is, not just because he's in front of the cameras, but what he does and like how he interacts with the players. He's really a world class manager, to say the least. But going on that, the one documentary I do want to talk about was one with Leo Messi. This is football. It's definitely a must watch, especially if you're a big Barca Messi fan. So this is football. It has like 6 different episodes for the first season, all talking about different topics. And what caught me about this one was just talking about like how Messi was brought up, why he's thought of like one of the world's greatest player, how he can't be stopped. You have Pep talking about him, and funny enough, the former president of Barcelona, Bartolomeu, talking about Messi as well, giving him a lot of praise. And also, we even have some statisticians talking about Messi, and they're talking about theories and geometry of how his body moves at different angles, and how it's like unworldly. He's able to do stuff like this. So it's really a good watch, and I enjoyed the shit out of it, to be honest.
I have not seen it, and I unfortunately don't have Amazon Prime, but I will find an opportunity to watch it. Sounds like a great documentary.
It definitely is. It's only for 50 minutes. And why I wanted to share about it as well is just not just because everybody pretty much knows, if you're a soccer fan, you know who Messi is. The best thing I liked about it is like you even had the president of Argentina being interviewed, and he stated, "Hey, Messi's the president of Argentina. I'm just here just because of politics and all that." But yeah, he gives his praise to Messi, and you can tell he's a big fan of him, the way he watches his games. And they even showed clips of his old club, Newell's Old Boys, how he came up, and they actually talked to one of the coaches that brought Messi from the bottom and up, and he even told them, like, if anybody taught Messi anything, they're full of shit. Like, in that, pretty much in that verbiage. He said that Messi, he was given this talent, and if he Messi's just like the way he coached him was just telling him, hey, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. He's a student of the game, and he reads the game so well, and that's something that Pep brought up as well. He's like, there's times you see Messi walking around the pitch doing nothing and just moving his head, but what he means by that, he's analyzing the game and looking at where the defenders are moving and where the opposition is doing. He's trying to read them out. And you can tell, like, he has a very good IQ because he reads the game so well, and not just reading the opposition, but he just knows, like, where to go, where to find space, and why he's been so dominant for the past decade and almost a half, because he's just a student of the game. He's so intelligent. He's able to break it down. And that's why it's such a pain. Like, if you're going against him, he's such a pain in the ass to beat, because you're always fearing what he can do, if he's going to go through your defense, and if you can tackle him or not.
I think, speaking about Messi, he's one of his greatest strengths, obviously, is what he can do with the ball. But a lot of people don't think about what he does off the ball. Like you said, he looks side to side, he looks everywhere. He's analyzing the game. And, that's something as a coach that we teach a lot of our young players. It's like, yeah, just because you don't have the ball doesn't mean you're not working. Like, you're looking, you're running, you're seeing what can be done, where you need to be, where the spaces, where the passing lanes are, where the passing channels are. So yeah, I mean, it is incredible how they describe Messi and those attributes that a lot of people just sometimes they miss. It's like, oh, Messi did this with the ball, but think about the runs that he makes.
Mhm.
And sometimes he doesn't get the ball, but he made those runs that if he had gotten the ball, it would have been a spectacular goal. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, and that actually just reminded me too of there was a play that was highlighted. One of his academy coaches was breaking down on film for the next generation of Barca players. They were saying that even though Messi sometimes doesn't go and score a one-on-one goal, etc., he does it for the team. He works to be a part of the team. So there was one where he was just running a dummy route essentially, and just let Suarez score the goal, because he knew the attraction was going to be towards him, and that opened up Suarez, because I think they were playing against Real Madrid. So Messi was doing a run towards the near post, and he had Ramos and I think Varane going after him. And in doing that, that freed up Suarez to score the goal, because it was a cross, and the cross was able to hit Suarez because Messi attracted the two defenders alongside. And that's just brilliance from him, because he knows, he's like already a target. So anywhere he moves, he knows somebody's going to track him. And I think that's just sheer brilliance on his part.
No, for sure, 100%.
Mm.
All right, Adrian. Anything else do you want to talk about before we call it a day?
That's pretty much it. This was, like I said, I want to encourage everybody to check out this documentary. This is football, Lionel Messi episode. Definitely a can't miss. I encourage everyone to watch it, because it's definitely something you should check out, especially if you're a fan of the game.
All right. All right, guys. So that's me signing off. Adrian, last remarks?
Thank you guys for watching episode 41. We'll definitely come out with 42 sooner, and want to thank you guys for watching.
All right, guys. Everyone have a good night, and we'll see you soon.